Hello, my name is Claire Russell, and I just wanted to talk to you about intuition, intention and synchronicity, which are three principles or three aspects of who we are and how we relate to our external environment that for me have become increasingly important and valuable and beautiful. And they're also what I'm going to be running a workshop on October 22nd in Bristol, and then on December 3rd with Alternatives in London. So this YouTube, I just wanted to talk a little bit about these principles, which I hope you'll find interesting, useful, applicable now, and also give you a little bit of a feel of what we'll be exploring in the workshop. So starting with intuition. Intuition, or following my intuition, is something that I committed to do about 4 or 5 years ago, to live my life following that inner guidance, that inner knowing. And it really required me to relearn how to make choices in my life, how to connect deeply with that inner voice, that inner sensing of what felt right, and then to apply that in a way which felt really grounded, really clear in my life. And when I did, it really created magic. It opened up so many doors for me. It made life so much more colourful, and I suppose on the most important level, I just found it very deeply fulfilling to live the life I was living, as it was one that was totally aligned to what felt right and feels right for me. And early on in that journey, my yoga teacher at the time said to me, "Yogis don't believe, they know." He said it as a passing comment in a class. However, it really struck me. It kind of stopped me still in that moment, because I realised how much of my life I've been living on assumption, how much of my life I've been living on kind of an artifice of belief systems that I've been given without questioning. And that started my journey to really get into, well, how do we follow our intuition? What are my roots for knowing something when I want to know from the inside out, rather than just trusting everything that comes to me without being able to get my own inner compass perspective? And it led me to take a real deep look at how we connect with our subtle senses, how we connect with our subtle layers and ways of knowing. And now that's something I share with people in intuitive development workshops, starting off by helping them engage their subtle senses through 360-degree intuition, and then building on that. And what I've also come to know through this kind of process of discovering how intuition works is that we are not the separate three-dimensional only beings that we appear to be, and that a lot of this kind of really deep intuition, really kind of spot-on intuition that leads us into this kind of synchronicitous, effortless life path comes from feeling connected to everything around us, our environment, to the people we meet, and kind of trusting that we are part of a beingness, an aliveness, a universal flow of energy, chi, prana, however you want to call it. And when we can tune into that and work with that and use that as our means of interacting with the world, then things change dramatically. So we're going to be going much more deeply into that in the workshop, really understanding how this aliveness, this beingness of the moment, is what connects us to everything, and how we can come into harmony and come into flow with that can radically change our lives. And one way I think very much into that is to connect with the heart, to really allow our heart to open. Simply, you can do this by breathing in and out of your heart center, taking 3 conscious breaths, breathing in and out of your heart, breathing in all that supports and nurtures you. And then as you breathe out, allowing that loving connection to extend out to the environment, to the space around you. And just that practice allows us to center in ourselves, yet also be connected to everything around us. And I know for some people, maybe if you already feel quite sensitive, quite connected to your subtle senses, sometimes that can be a little bit scary to really open to all of that kind of Wi-Fi internet of information around us. And that's something else we'll be looking at in the workshop, is how can we be conscious empaths? So not kind of simply empathetic or sensitive to everything that's happening around us, but having the tools, the skills, the principles to be able to handle that for ourselves, to be able to handle that in a way that supports us emotionally, spiritually, mentally. So it's not something that feels overwhelming, but something that supports us. So the second principle or way of living, way of being, intention. Now, intention, I experience, is like our way of focusing our attention in the subtle realms of consciousness. And from that subtle realm, we create into the more gross realm. So if you like, we move from our thoughts, our words, into our actions, into our habits, our character, which then creates our destiny or whatever goals we are seeking for on the kind of everyday level, right out to the big one, to the destiny. And that is like a laser beam of light shining forward into creating our holographic reality. And how does that work? Well, it's so fine, really. It's really got to be experienced. I call it an active knowing, really experiencing it for yourself, as I think it can be misinterpreted. Sometimes it can be quite literally interpreted as in tension. So we become in tension with things. So when we create, we feel that we need some kind of resistance or something to come up against. And we find ourselves really kind of trying hard to create things, it being a little bit forceful, or feeling like we're demanding a reality or forcing it and it's not working. And that can be a way that a lot of creation happens. And I'd call that resistance-based creation. We feel we need, or we create for ourselves, friction from which to create. However, I think there's another kind of the real way of creating from this effortless intention is something quite different. And again, it's working in the subtle realm of beingness, of aliveness, and really connecting to that. And whatever we want to create, already feeling and knowing that creation in ourselves right now. And that is, I suppose, summarized as consciousness in the result. Already experiencing what we want to create for the future. And there are many subtle layers of coming into that. So feeling at choice, creating our choice, feeling motivated, committed to our choices, at the same time as holding them lightly, not feeling limited by them, yet allowing them to focus and motivate us. Being conscious in the result, yet not attached to the results, might be another way of saying it. And it also means aligning ourselves through all the different levels of our being. So our intention is not only in our words, but also in our emotions, our vibration, our energetic body, the way we are with everything in our entire environment around us. And the more we come into alignment with who we are on all those different levels, the clearer, the more focused, and the more precise our intention. And when we allow ourselves to do that, I believe we can go into this flow, this natural way of creating, which I call surrendered action. And that is surrendered to our highest potential, aligned to our highest potential, and allowing that universal aliveness being to flow through us and create our actions for us. So it's almost like, yes, we are acting, except it feels effortless. It's just what's going to naturally happen. And when we do that, when we are really tuned in on the subtle realms to our intuition, and when we're actively engaging with that intuition in a creative way through our intention, what happens is synchronicities occur. Those synchronicities such as the right person being there at the right time, specific messages coming to you at the right time, even the right job coming up, the right relationship, whatever it might be, you just feel this kind of flow of path where everything is supporting you. As one teacher and friend of mine says, it's like, oh, everything's so convenient. It's like it's just been placed there as a perfect part of the journey. And when you experience that, you realise, or I've realised, of course, well, that's how it works. Everything can be this naturally convenient, flowing life force. And if I was to define synchronicity, what I would say is the outward expression of vibrational alignment to our highest potential. So that synchronicity, that everything being in the right place at the right time, is just an outward expression of our vibrational alignment to our highest potential. So that means that we are aligned inside ourselves to who we are at the deepest level. And naturally, because who we are at the deepest level is going to be aligned to this universal aliveness, this beingness, we become in sync, we become in harmony. And in that harmony, things flow effortlessly. It becomes a dance or a song which just kind of moves and flows through and feels wonderful to be part of. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that in the workshop and how we can move more into this place of alignment in order to create synchronicity and just enjoy it and be playful with it and realize that we don't have to be so serious about it all the time, but the more we relax and loosen up and have fun in creating our synchronicity, the more it happens. And the other thing is realizing that synchronicity is really the result of energetic principles which are always and absolutely in action. We are living within those energetic principles. So you might also feel that you get signs. They may not feel synchronicitous, but they feel directional, that they're trying to point out something to you. And that is actually part of the same energetic principle. So those signs, in my perspective, are there to help us come more into vibrational alignment with our highest possibility. And signs might be repeated patterns that you see in certain areas of your life, repeated messages that come to you through many different areas. Maybe that's in your external world, maybe that's through your dreams, maybe that's through books, what you pick up. It can also be anomalies which happen and kind of surprise you and stand out. That can also be a sign. And the more proficient we get at interacting with these signs, because I believe it's actually a co-creation, the more we can easily and naturally fine-tune to our highest vibration. So you might have heard or felt yourself that feeling of, oh, just give me a sign, please give me a sign. And for me, that's a misunderstanding of how signs work. It's like, well, maybe we'll get a sign once a year, and if we miss it, well, we'll just have to wait for the next year. But actually, signs again are the outward expression of where we are in our vibrational alignment. So, because we're always in some kind of relationship to our highest potential and moving towards it at all times, we're always going to be receiving signs, synchronicities to help us on our journey. And really, what we're here to do is to open up to them, to be able to pick them up, to notice them, to respond to them, to also engage creatively with them. It is part of this dance. We are not separate from these signs and synchronicities. We are co-creating them and working with them. So we're going to explore that as well, and how we can really fine-tune, because the more we hear those signs, the earlier, the easier it is to fine-tune. Instead of having to wait for like a really big sign that knocks us over the head, and we have to kind of come around and work out what's happening. If we can pick up those subtle ones, the subtle nuances, we're enabling ourselves to stay in our flow a lot more easily. It's like GPS in your car. If you take a wrong turn, you'll have the lady or the man say to you, recalculating, and that recalculating allows you immediately to then continue on your journey that's where you want to go, even though it might be a slightly different route, rather than realizing 10 minutes later, oh, we've gone the wrong way, and having to re-go that 10 minutes. And that's what we're doing here, is allowing ourselves to get the principles and the skills so that we can recalculate, fine-tune, find our way quickly, effortlessly, easily, and stay in our flow. So maybe that's given you a few things to think about, and perhaps you might find it interesting to learn more about the workshop. If so, you can go to my website, which is www.metalife.org.uk. Again, the dates are the 3rd of December 2011 in London and the 22nd of October in Bristol. And I hope to see you there. Thank you.